drew me to him really was some sort of mystery that I thought surrounded him. He wasn't one of the quiet ones in school or in class at all. I mean, he was nicknamed Black Moses. So, but however, when the results came out, he would do exceedingly well. So I really wanted to know this person, and that was how the friendship developed. Dele is my brother. What I admire about him the most, however, is his relationship with his maker. Dele hardly ever acts without getting clearance from God. All that we see today, what we hear him say, what is happening today, he knew because God had revealed to him earlier, long before time, that this would be his path. And it's a path to awaken us from our slumber, to open our eyes to the comfortable ills, I can say, that we have come to accept as a nation. It's a path to make known that we can have a turnaround without violence. That is to embrace the non-violent path to the birth of the Nigerian nation, as they rightly put it in his book. It's also a path that is sounding the warning that do not die in their war. A path calling us to do this for our children, because they would ask us. They would ask us what we did or what we failed to do. They would ask us, we're accountable to them. So on this note, he's someone I admire a lot, and he's a gift to our nation. So my brother, my friend, I congratulate you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. German. Mr. German, I hand over the floor, the platform to you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to be sure that this iPhone person is Mr. Farutimi, because it was earlier. I can't find him again. Please, if your device is using name of your phone, kindly rename yourself, because we cannot admit anybody who is using just a telephone name. Otherwise, we can be bumped off by hackers. So if your phone is, if your device has your telephone name, please kindly rename yourself so we can make sure that you remain here. Because once we remove you, it will be difficult to bring you back. So there's someone on iPhone. I don't know who the person is.
It's
okay.
Dele.
Okay, I've admitted him, but he's trying to connect by audio now. Okay. I don't think he's able to join yet, but okay, he's in now. Okay. Thank you very much, madam. I would like to call on Mr. Taiwo Akinlami, because in the book, Taiwo Akinlami, it's Dele Farotimi's alter ego. And they've been coming for a long time, right from LASU. And he made significant contribution to this book. He's also one who has read Dele extensively, by one of his major critics. So I'd like to call on him to do the next, to give us a speech for 10 minutes, just a review of the work, talking also about Dele Farotimi's writing. Taiwo Akinlami, please.
Thank you very much for having me.
And nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me this morning. It's my greatest pleasure to be here and to be part of this project. In a nation where courage is lacking and everybody seems to be cowed by, almost everybody seems to be cowed by the machination of men and women who have taken over the reign of power, who amassed wealth through the use of the gun. And they have now amassed this wealth so much that they are now claiming to use democratic process to be in charge of the nation. When you deal with that kind of situation, people think about safety first. What Dede has been saying is that poverty has been weaponized when 92 million Nigerians are living on less than $1.99 per day, according to Global Poverty Watch. And according to the National Bureau of Statistics, apart from that 92 million living on less than $1.99 per day, another 25% is said to be vulnerable. That 95% is put at 52 million. So you do the math between 92 million Nigerians and 53 million Nigerians who are said to be vulnerable. So you have 145 million Nigerians or thereabout who have been incapacitated in a country that is supposed to be populated by 180 million. According to Sheikh Musa census, we don't even know how many we are. But by that population, almost every member of the nation, the larger population of the nation has been ravaged. And so in that kind of nation, you find that poverty becomes a weapon. And so, but Deliverable to me has reason, despite all of this, to begin to lead a revolution. And I think I want to call it like that, a revolution of mind weaponry, a revolution of changing our thinking, a revolution of repentance. And when I talk about repentance, I'm not talking about in religious terms. I'm talking about repentance. Change your mind. Metanoia, that's the word in Greek. That's the meaning of repentance. Change your mind. Change your mind and know that the power resides with you. When it comes to holding political power, we are the employer. The government and the people there, they are our employees. You can't find a place except the Nigerian system when the employee is the one dictating to the employer. And so that is foundational. We cannot but speak the truth to power, not only speak truth to power, we must challenge power. We must take responsibility for our own destiny and the destiny of our children. And what Deliverable to me is doing did not start today. It has spanned a period of many years since I've known him. He has always been someone who is forthright, who is committed, who puts his money where his mouth is, or put his mouth where his money is, who continues to be a voice, and so I admire him a lot, for his courage, for his commitment. He does not only say what is possible, he does what is possible. And so his writing are powerful. I see the comments. I'm not a regular user of Twitter, but I go there, once in a while. But I've gone there more now since it was banned, because I just wanted to. I said when it was banned that it's an easy part of civil disobedience. You are training us. You are training our hands to war, and you are training our fingers to war, and our hands to battle by banning Twitter. You are teaching us how to make civil disobedience easy, and that's what happens there. So I commend Deliverable to me. It's my brother, it's my friend, it's my bosom friend, it's my twin brother from another mother, and so I'm so happy that this is happening today, and we're making this difference. Let me conclude by saying that there is a terror that I've seen. And I think that is why this book is very, very relevant at this time. There's a terror that I've seen. There's a hallucination, political and social hallucination out there, which we need to arrest, which we need to call attention to. You remember that in 2011, in 2015, before this government came to power, Lord Jonathan postponed the election for like maybe 6 weeks. And he cited the violence in the Northeast and cited some other examples, some other reasons why the election was postponed. The election still held within, the Electoral Act framework and the constitutional framework for the election. Not only that, you remember that when it was time for Obasanjo to depart, he began to want to use a corny, fraudulent, but so-called constitutional way to amend the constitution to make it, to change the tenure of government to 1 term, so that he can, 1 term of 5 years, so that he can become the first beneficiary of that process. But he was resisted, and he didn't have his way. I think there's another strategy being used, by this present government. I think there's a lot of polarization in the country. We have never seen killing where we have seen it under this government in the annals of our nation. Our nation fought a civil war. I don't think we're recording backs of death the way we are recording it today. There's problem in the south-south. There's problem in the southeast. There's problem in the northeast. There's problem in the geopolitical zones. There's mass killing. There's insecurity. And people are talking about 2023. In the midst of this chaos, this seeming situation we're at war, I suspect that all of these killings, all of this insecurity, all of this instability is being instigated by the government of the day. So the purpose of instigating that is to now come, because by the day it's escalating, it's not improving. And look at the statement that the president made in his interview with Arise. He said when governors came to him to say that there was insecurity in their states, he sent them back. He said, you were elected to secure the state. Go and secure the state. Now, as if those governors are supposed to have the tool of securing the state, because we don't have state police. We have national police in our 40 federal system. And state police, the governor of Lagos State, for example, is the chief executive, is the chief security officer of Lagos State, but the commissioner of police does not respond to it. So you're asking people who do not have the apparatus of security to secure the state. So what I suspect is that this crisis is going to escalate. There is in the name of different agitations. And when this escalates, the president might come and say, okay, because there's insecurity, instability in the nation, and because of that, we have to hold on to elections for now. Maybe Obasanjo was civil. Maybe Goodluck Jonathan changed his mind. But this particular government, I don't see it as a government that wants to leave power. This is the same president who said, when he was not elected, that and people went out to burn houses, to destroy property, public property, private property, and he said they were expressing themselves that he couldn't do anything about it. So what we are seeing is a situation where this government may not hand over power. So those who are thinking about 2023 as the way forward, as the solution, go and get your PVC. PVC to do what? To choose between who and who. It's the same political power, it's the same political class. A lady was telling me yesterday about an organization they are building, which is to elect women. I said, women from where? Between which political class and all of that. So I want to warn us, this book is imperative, is relative, is critical, is important at this time, because people have said we may not see 2023 as a result of secession, but I doubt that secession will move that fast. I think, or balkanization of Nigeria. I think that what we should fear is these people in power who do not who are not only astute at seizing power, but they don't have the reputation for sharing power, for using power for the welfare, security, and security of the people, who is the primary aim of government, and who don't have the character of going gloriously, of resigning, of even relinquishing power. So I think it is important we pay attention to that and wake up ourselves from the illusion of 2023 and begin to find another path for our salvation as political deliverance. Thank you very much. Long live Nigeria. Long live this movement, and long live Deliver. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thank you very much, Taiwo Akinlami, the twin brother to Dele, or should I just say, in my reporter's sense, fellow troublemaker as Daily Faro TV. But also thank you for what you're doing for child rights, because I see you a lot on television and I follow your channel, what you're doing for our children. We are consuming our children and you are always after that particular thing. Thank you. We need your voice. We need voices like yours and Daily Faro TV to do this for us. Having met Taiwo Akinlami, even though he just joining us, but I will want to bring in Mr. Adeshino Ogunlano, who is more or less like is a big brother to Dele, also a sort of mentor to him. He just joined us, and I wish he could unmute so that he can do this before we go into. Please unmute Adeshino Ogunlano. Oh, okay, sir. Mr. Adeshino Ogunlano, sir.
Good morning, all. It's my pleasure to leap into the 21st century, accelerated by the consequences of COVID in Nigeria. So we have to be zooming our meetings and all that. Incidentally, that's one of the preferences of delivery to me. That we meet this way and launch a book virtually. Well, I've been invited to speak here about the book, and if I care about the man. I've had the opportunity of reading, browsing through the book. It's typical of Dele. I think the young man should do one or two senior degrees, maybe PhD or masters, to go and become a lecturer in a university, an egghead. Is a non-professional intellectual. You know, we used to think of people, dons, lecturers as intellectual, but his two books, aside his many discourse over social media, normal media, indicate cerebrality, if I'm not modeling my English. And he brought it to bear in this book as well, typified by not just writing his thoughts about the Nigerian condition or digging into our history, but actually researching and trying to distill and make sense, as well as project the possibilities that will happen out of the ferment of the country social forces. The imperatives of the Nigerian revolution, in a way, is ironic, although it tried its best to explain that revolution does not necessarily have to carry on the toga of sharp conflict resulting in bloodshed. And that's where Taiwo Akinlami came in, who I will take more or less as a co-author. His contribution, the expounding on the Mahatma Gandhi's perspective for what you call passive resistance, was quite illuminating in my view. But whether the situation in Nigeria can make this concept work, that's another thing to discuss about. But the idea that we could engage ourselves and try to understand this country, the colonial legacy of it, and the unprofitable elitism that has come out. It talks so much about feudalism, feudal. I think is obsessed with the idea feudalism, and his understanding is not just limited to feudalism in the north. He conceives the idea of the class system in Nigeria or governance system in Nigeria from a feudalistic model where you have the lords who actually àwọn tó láyé nìyẹn, so to say, àwọn tó láyé nìyẹn, so they sit at table and cut off the pieces of the Nigerian carcass and appropriate it to themselves in a very unreproductive way. Clearly, it was deep. It was sanguine also, incidentally, in his brutal analysis of some characters and his own understanding of history. It was stimulating reading it, though I think it was a bit over thematic and laborious, winding. While I was going through it, it reminded me of either Fidel Castro or Paul, St. Paul the Apostle. Apostle Paul was the one who was preaching so much that somebody fell asleep. They said Paul was right; he was preaching the gospel, teaching the people from morning till midnight. Somebody eventually fell asleep now and fell down, and then was resurrected. Now, I want to appreciate Dele in putting thoughts to paper. It's a very difficult thing, and so that means he must have been very passionate, and he brought himself the discipline to execute this job. As he has explained to me, that's a trilogy. It's one of the trilogy that intends to write. It's done very, 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 very well. And he essentially is a peacemaker and is a progressive mind. And his understanding of peace is not just mere passivity, but that we can reason together. I think he believes that just like Gandhi. Am I off?
No, you're on, sir.
Yeah,
continue.
Okay. All right. He believes essentially in that he believes strongly in the essential and basic goodness of the human spirit, and that's why he has devoted this kind of volume of work in presenting this case, not just only as a lawyer, but also as a teacher, honestly, sincerely, as he understands it, so that, come, eventually this book is like, come, let us reason together. And the British, they have colonized us, they have created us, but instead of we now just fighting ourselves and splintering, no, if you come together and reason in a way, his book is a throwback to Ahmadu Bello, the allegory between him and Azikiwe, Nnamdi Azikiwe, when the Azikiwe was reported to have said, let us come together and forget our differences. And the other gentleman was reported to have said, no, let's come together and understand our differences. When we understand our differences, then we will be able to forge ahead better and stronger. And I think that's a worthwhile call, because how do you even want to separate? Remember, separatist forces in Nigeria, they don't even know that they're even oppressive. The Yoruba, people say Yoruba nation, Yoruba nation. Probably that is the largest homogeneous body in the country, coming all the way from Lagos to maybe Ilorin, a bit of open land in Kogi. But even then, we don't forget that you have the Egun. You have the Egun there. And there's some part of Ibarapa in Oyo State that they are not Yorubas. We have to lump them by force and all that. And then, of course, in the East, in the Midwest, in the north, in the northwest, and all that. His book also throws us back to the challenge that created the Willings Commission that led on to the issue of the Midwest and all that. The Willings Commission is about the challenge of the minorities. And I don't think Nigeria is actually the most diverse or the largest or the biggest in landscape country in the world. I will agree with him and support that we can make this country much better if we have sincere leader. The present leader is a very big minus, that is Buhari. It's clearly the country has grown more asunder under him because of his policies, but we have people of noble mind, great minds. We should be able to relate together as Nigerians, even as Africans, as human beings, not necessarily from Yoruba, and that Yoruba, I'm from Oyo, and that Oyo, I'm from Okeogun, and from that Okeogun, I'm from Shaki, and all that kind of a thing. That's minimalist politics, which will not do well for us. I want to appreciate Mr. Farutimi for this effort, but let me also appreciate his household, principally Mama Igbayilola. Everybody who is married to any activist of any type, whether religious, whether political, these are people who do secret sacrifices. There are personal staff, people like Shayo, so many other people who create the situation environment for the genius to work. So I salute you, salute the family. Mama Igbayilola is quite a very strong backbone of Dele. I suspect that one even teach Dele some English. Yes, although both of them will be blushing now. I want to encourage all of us to emulate them in this regard, so that we will not be like Elede. Yoruba people say, Inu Elede lo ngbe. So Dele Farutimi has refused to be an Elede who is he is not grumbling, shout out, come, let us reason together. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir, for that that tour of Nigerian politics in the context of Dele's book, in the context of Nigerian politics, and the way you bring in even the question of separatists, what they call separatists or nationalists, and who have been responding to you here. And some people have also made comments about Dele's book. Somebody said, Dele, DF, you bless me with your books, so remain blessed. And that's the kind of thing we want to. Another person says, Dele Farutimi is a gift to this nation. I say yes. Tawa Kilami thumb up, bro. Yeah, that Dele is preaching non-violent revolution. So we will continue to take all of that, and you're all welcome. Everybody who is in there with us. Someone said generally, that's Austin Caesar, said generally well articulated from Mr. Akinlami. Congratulations to Dele Farutimi for a job well done. So we'll be taking more of that. I've written there, please, in the chat room, that feel free to send your messages through the chat room, comments, questions, and critiques. Dele encourages criticisms more than even just free comment, because that's his own nature as a person too. That's why he's writing all these books. So I've been told by our online editor that the book is available in Amazon, Kindle, and paperback. It's on Okada Books, it's on Konga, it's on Lulu. All these places you can buy the book there. And as I mentioned earlier, Dele had been magnanimous enough when immediately the book came out. He said it should be released on June 12th online, and he gave people about 12 hours to download. And within the first 1 hour or so, over 300 were downloaded. In fact, someone wrote to us that he already shared the same link to over 300 people. So I'm sure almost about 1,000 people will have downloaded the book. That's the nature of Dele. He doesn't really he's not writing books to make money. He's a man of ideas, and it is his idea that we want to celebrate today. I wanted to read from Dele's biography, and it's at the back of the book, which we've invited you to join us to launch today. So let me just quickly read through it so we can meet Dele himself. Dele Farotimi is a lawyer, author, and member of Citizens Rally Against Oppression, Ramimba. He served as president of the Student Union at the Lagos State University, LASU, in 1994/1995, and he was called to the Nigerian bar in 1999. He commenced his legal career as litigation counsel in the law firms of Basa and Partners, Additional Ogulano and Co., and K.O. Tinubu and Co., among others. In 2002, he established Dele Farotimi and Co., now DF Legal, a full-service law firm providing legal services to the real estate sector in Nigeria, infrastructure investment and development companies, financial institutions, among others. Dele is a thorough professional known for his tenacious approach in achieving results and ability to broker complicated negotiations. He remained in active legal practice until his retirement in 2018 at the age of 50. Dele Farotimi is an activist, a political commentator, and author of the book, Do Not Die in Their War, a treatise on Nigeria's contemporary political trajectories. Dele Farotimi is passionate about the birth of a new and better Nigeria. He is married to Fumi Farotimi, and they are blessed with 3 children, Igbayilola, Ajibola, and Afolari. Thank you very much. That is meeting Dele through the statement that we have from the blurb of the book. So I'm not still sure that we have the video ready. So we'll go straight and ask to meet Dele formally. Dele should speak to us at this time. Dele Farotimi, please. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good. And for those of you who are in your uncomfortable exile outside of Nigeria, those of you who might be safely ensconced in places where it is afternoon, good afternoon to you as well. And those of you who might even be in places where it's the middle of the night, good evening to you as well. The important thing is, I wish you all the very best of the day and of life. So they told me they were going to have me inflict myself on you. They said, in addition to having written a book, it would be my lot to also give a speech. So I said to myself, what am I now supposed to say that I haven't already said in the book? And if you listen to Baba Ogun, not just now, he was busy telling me how laborious the book is already. And then here I am again, supposed to be talking to you. The Yoruba people have a proverb. They say, "Koko la nrofa aditi." The best way I can translate that is to say that you have to emphasize repeatedly before the hard of hearing might hear you. Hard of hearing not necessarily meaning that the person is as deaf as our current president, but hard of hearing as in they do not pay attention, and Nigerians do not pay attention. But I would be breaching a whole heap of protocols, and I'll be behaving like an untutored child if I just launch into whatever I'm going to have to say today. Pardon me for the fact that I don't have a speech prepared. I'm not in the habit of doing that. But first thing first, I must greet all of you. Thank you very much for finding the time in what are very trying times to join today's book presentation. I must also acknowledge the supremacy of God in my life and thank him for his grace and mercy, and thank him for safekeeping, because those of you who have been paying attention, you will know that I was recently the object of some people's desires for elimination, and it was only the grace of God that revealed their plans on time. So I thank God for his safekeeping over me, his mercies and his grace in my life. But I must thank God, and I did acknowledge as much in the dedication page of the book, where I took out time to thank the three women that it has pleased God to place in my life, my late grandmother who raised me. But I thank God that today my wife is available and she's here with us. And I thank her. I thank her. I thank her for letting me be me. I thank her for finding the grace to love me enough to just let me be me. Because if I, not even if, I might have married Miss World or the daughter of the richest man in the world, I would never have been the person that God had created me to be. I married my wife, and I thank God for her, and I thank her very much for letting me be myself. I thank God for my mother, who I believe is online with us as well. It's difficult when one of these days, because I'm still going to write certain books that are not going to be as painful to write as the ones I have currently written and the one I'm going to write next. My mother taught me how to be a man, and I have a duty to tell the world about her. So I must acknowledge her and thank her for her sacrifice. And thank her. I thank her a lot because she did give up a lot to make me who I am today. May God bless her, preserve her life in good health. Now, done with protocols already, I'm going to range, but I'm going to put myself on some time leash so that I do not waste your time unduly. And the very first of the things that I would like to speak about, there are two issues that are laid on my heart to address in the time I've been given to speak. The first is the difficulty of speaking truth to our friends. It is actually quite easy to tell our enemies or our haters the truth, but telling our friends the difficult truth has always been a major challenge. And this is because more often than not, our friends expect and take our support for granted. They assume, rightly so, that we would always stand with them when they are in any battle. So more often than not, when you're trying to tell your friend the truth, you are almost always going to find that you have to deal with two layers of difficulties. The first is his readiness to accept that what you are saying to him is the truth, which is what any other person would have struggled with when confronted with the uncomfortable truth. But the second, which is even the more challenging, is when the person had presumed your support and you are now saying to him that what he's doing is not the right thing to do. So this morning, I intend to speak some uncomfortable truth to my friends. And who are the friends that I wish to speak uncomfortable truth to today? The first of them, above and every other person, are the secessionists in Nigeria. It is proper and right that those who are most aggrieved should be the ones who shout the loudest about injustice. Ndị Igbo has been the beneficiary of deep-seated hatred from the Nigerian state, institutionalized hatred. And Ndị Igbo has every right to be as angry as it is currently angry with Nigeria. Ndị Igbo has every right to demand to be allowed to go, especially when they are being told they are not wanted. But my people have a proverb. They say that the stream that forgets its source automatically dries up. This tells us the importance of our history and how we should never forget to learn the lessons of our histories. Ndị Igbo has been led to this same cul-de-sac before. It was better equipped. It was readier. The result is what we have today, institutionalized discrimination. This has happened because Ndị Igbo was isolated, and it was easier for those who had designs of marginalization to deal with Ndị Igbo on his own. But today, the stories are different. I am saying to my brothers and sisters, Ndị Igbo, hear me and hear me clearly. I speak from a heart of love. I understand your grievances, I understand your pain. But I am saying to you that this is a time to look back and understand that those who fought you 50 years ago, they are today victims of the same injustice that was constructed in your punishment. Those who fought you yesterday are mostly your friends today, not necessarily because they love you, but because they are also the recipient of institutionalized injustice. It is easier to find a synergy to demand that Nigeria becomes the dream nation that we all wish it could be, if we band together and make those demands. I do not see how those who are demanding, and this is now, at this point, I'm not just speaking to Igbo, I'm speaking to my own people as well, the Yorubas. The demand for secession can only be found in a preparedness for war. Question is this: if you say you want to leave, how in our current conglomeration? There is no constitutional provision for a referendum. The United Nations is not coming to Nigeria to organize a referendum. Referendums supervised by United Nations only happens after wars have happened in the place. Focusing on secession only serves to take your sight away from what is possible. And what is possible? You can reform Nigeria. We can all do this together. We don't need to die to change Nigeria. If we, understanding the commonalities of our affliction, I keep using that phrase because it is the truth. The person who is being killed in Kankara is not Igbo. Kankara is not in Ala Igbo. It is in Katsina. The persons dying in Zamfara, they are largely Fulanis. The people being killed in Niger State, they are not Yorubas. I have tried my best to let us all understand the fact that we're speaking in terms of the class. Our agitation finds relevance. But when we begin to speak in terms of tribes, what we do is that we leave ourselves open to the machinations of our true enemies. Our enemies then take on the capacity to show us who our enemies are, and then we erect circular firing squads. We begin to kill ourselves on behalf of our enemies. Let me say this. The sole merchant of death with impunity in the Nigerian space is the Nigerian state. When we, in reaction, presume to meet it with force, we cannot pay the cost it is ready to pay. It has no compulsion about taking our lives. Let me remind you, and I'm speaking through the eyes of eyewitnesses. Let me remind you of just how wanton and wicked the Nigerian state is. On the 20th of October last year, there were people at the toll gates and all over Lagos protesting. But I believe at exactly 6:43 in the evening, early evening, they came. Nigerian army, men paid with your taxes and mine. In Lagos, we're not talking Odi. It's not Zaki Biam. It's not some remote backwater where nobody is sane. They came to the toll gate. They killed human beings in cold blood. These were men who were completely unharmed. They were carrying flags. I was one of those who, and by the time they were talking about being attacked, and people were saying Americans army flag, I said, no problem, give them flags. We organized, we raised money, we bought flags. We sent flags to the protest ground, believing that we live in a country that could become a nation. But those soldiers, a soldier's greatest honor is the defense of the sovereignty and integrity of a nation, not person. The soldier who presumes to fight on behalf of persons is a mercenary. The Nigerian army sent a band of mercenaries to the Lekki toll gate and murdered citizens in cold blood. That is nothing new to the Nigerian state, not be today. We've seen this state done similar things over the decades. I am 53. I've been introduced to the Nigerian state since I was about 9 years old, the nailing tear gas in UI. So I know the nature of the country that I am dealing with. But I am explaining to you, and it needs to sink into all of us, that this same state was not alone in the evil. It required you and me to legitimize that evil. After the killing, even in spite of the fact that there was a clear recording, particularly like the one by DJ Switch and by several other individuals who posted their evidences, the Nigerian state, citizens of Nigeria, quote and unquote, found the grace to begin to denigrate the evidence and to thereby deny the very humanities of those who were killed. Now, let me tell you something you are not privy to, but which I am able to say because I am privy to people who are there and I can see through their eyes. When the soldiers started shooting and 1 or 2 persons had fallen, some young men stood up. They stood up. They knew they were going to be killed, but they stood up. I know what they were saying to those who are still there. They said, make sure our death means something. But what does their death mean? Their death does not mean you go on the street and you begin to burn and loot and riot. And that wasn't what happened with the NSAS people. It was the state that did that. But I'm going somewhere. How is it that their death would mean something? For their death to mean something, you have to bet a new Nigeria. And there shouldn't be any more blood beyond the ones that have been shed on that day and on the other days when Nigerians have been killed in preservation of a state. We have to bet a new Nigeria, and it has to be one that is rooted in ideas. It has to be one where the weapons you carry are here, is up here, and here in your heart, where you understand that love itself becomes a weapon, because when you love a man who hates you enough, believe it or not, it disarms. And those whom it will not disarm, let me remind you, the greatest tragedy is not to die. The greatest tragedy is to have lived for nothing. Dying is normal. Everybody will. There's a chapter in Do Not Die in Their War. It's a chapter a lot of people find creepy, so they rarely read it. It's the one titled The Day I Die. It's easy for me to discount death because I have come to understand that it's no different from living. There is really no death. It's a continuum. The most important thing is this. Even if you lived to be 100 years old, the man who lived the longest, can't remember what they call his name now, even if he had lived to be 2,000 years, and I know he didn't. Enough time had passed since he died and now, and he ain't come back. And every day, people are dead and people are born on a daily basis. Point is, we will all die. Question is, what did you do with your life? If you are a member of my generation, and I'll say this to wrap up, if you are a member of my generation, you are what I call the Moses generation. You are the ones who saw a functional country. There was a functional country when you were born. Even if you were born into a civil war, you grew up in a country that had systems. There was a school system. Some of us went to school because of what you call more or less like a postcode lottery. Your parents didn't need to know anyone. You were allotted. You were assigned to the school closest to your home. Some of us went to secondary schools and didn't have to pay a dime. My parents didn't have to spend up to 20% of their income to educate me. Some of you listening to me have to borrow money to pay your children's school fees. And it's not just the poor that are sending children to private schools. It is everybody because of the inadequacy. My brother, Taiwo Akinlami, is fond of telling me how people are paying 50 naira every day to go to attend classes in the Gorodome Estate around Jazzhole. So when you begin to understand that there is a complete and virtual collapse of the state, and it is critical that we understand that when we die, as we will, however long we live, our children, where would they live? Would they be able to live in the country they will inherit from us? If we started a war today, would that war be fought on TV or at our doorsteps? The ones who are encouraging war, and you better believe it, our ruling class will be very happy if we went into a civil war. It will mean that the likes of Condé, nobody would ask him questions about why he was fainting in the National Assembly. It will mean that nobody is going to ask questions of off the mic is enough. Nobody will ask questions. It will mean that Akpabio will get away with his show of shame before the National Assembly. It will simply mean that they would all get away, just as Diezani has gotten away. And then we, who are the real victims, we would have further victimized ourselves by starting a war that enables them to escape. And then we'll be left alone. And if you thought for 1 second that the Western world cares about us, you are fooling yourself. They don't care. All they care about is that you don't flood Europe with your refugee problems. If you are one of the middle class who is privileged to be able to travel abroad, you will find that the American embassy does not even have any appointment for anybody until maybe 2024. That is their way of ensuring that you do not flood their country. When you still have relative stability in your country and you go and come, they didn't mind you coming. But now they know that according to their laws, if you enter their country with a valid visa and there is war in your country, you claim asylum and refugee, nobody can deport you. They don't want that. But all of our rulers, the one that doesn't have Antigua passport, has sent this passport, sent that passport, they are already poised to take off. They don't mind. They actually want you to start a war. Somebody will sell guns. Somebody will buy guns. Who will tell the mother that the children are dead? I am not scaremongering. I'm simply telling you what is already happening, but will be happening on a larger scale if we embrace the despair of war. There is another way forward. We can unite ourselves and then make just demands of the system. That is the revolution. Just demand of a system. I recently gave an interview where I explained the whole of Nigeria, you have less than 30 million people voting in any election. That is a function of the fact that, one, Nigeria knows that their votes do not count. If they would do what they did at Lekki Toll Gate, you think they would not do it in Shekona village? They will deploy. They have the capacity to deploy and to impose their will. Those who do not own soldiers and police, they own thugs, they own murderers. People are maintaining private militia. The only people poised for violence, particularly in the Southwest, are those who are affiliated to the same people who you think you are fighting, even though you've not properly identified them. All your godfathers, your governors, are they serving you? No, they are not. They are serving the same system you want to fight. But they are the ones who control the guns on your street. So instead of embracing what should be clear to you, unite yourselves. Make a just demand of the system. And that just demand is to be allowed to be citizens. The loss of citizenship is what has created the Igbo question for Nigeria. And it's not only in the Igbo that has been stripped of citizenship. It's every Nigerian outside of the ruling class. If you can now show the other man, show the man in Kankara, how his life is limited. Yes, the northern elite need to be called out, but those are processes. We ourselves need to get to the point where we understand clearly that demanding secession, fighting secessionist battles merely distracts us from what we should be demanding, which is citizenship. Citizenship. If you are a citizen, you will be treated equally. The law will rule in that space. The only reason Nigeria cannot afford to have the law rule is because we are not citizens. There must always be the opportunity to put the hand on the scale for those who must be accorded special privileges. When you have that kind of environment, the law cannot rule. Those are the things we should be seeking. The rule of law, the establishment of citizenship rights. Those are calls that you can get everybody to support if you speak the language they understand. Mr. President or General Buhari understands the language of violence. I speak the language of reason. And it is my belief that every human being is created with the capacity to reason. And I'm saying to you, reason it yourself. Reason it. A state that has kept somebody like Yele Sowore caged in Abuja for over 2 years. A state that will send its soldiers to murder its own citizens. A state that would allow Burattai's convoy to kill confirmed state figures. Kaduna State Panel of Inquiry, 347 human beings were murdered. Nobody has been held accountable. Not be today Nigeria they kill. Nigeria is a murderous entity. Don't let's play its game. This is a battle of reason. It's a war of ideas. Do not die in their war. Thank you very much. But in closing, let me say this. This was the book I set out to write first. Let's be clear about that. This was the book I set out to write first. But I couldn't write it without offering you context. Do not die in their war was context. You've been offered context. This is the call to the Nigerian. Our only hope is a peaceful revolution. Download it. I made the file, not me. Let me rephrase. In fact, let me just share this as an anecdote and get off your face. I told German that please make sure that the file is encrypted so that they can't share. So it's only on the day that we would let you take the book for free. That was on the 12th. And then by some error, the technical person forgot to encode the script. So the file was left shareable. So by the time I found out, I was like, well, must be that was what God had always intended for the book. Because in truth, I didn't write it to make money. But it wouldn't have made sense if I had told people to be taking it. But it was always intended by God that you would have it for free. That book is readily available for all of you. If you have it on WhatsApp, share it with your friends. If you have it in, just share it. The important thing is that you need to get it. Within the first 24 hours, we had 4,680 downloads of the book directly from the website, whilst it was still on my website. I am sure that a lot of others are sharing it among themselves. It gives me pleasure to know that you are reading, because the man that is capable of reasoning is less likely to engage in fisticuff. Not that if it comes down to it, you shouldn't be prepared to in self-defense, but at least understand the issues. So please, thank you very much for having listened to me, allowing me to ramble on as I have, or pay me back by reading. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dele Farutimi. I can tell you that this is the most tempered speech that Dele Farutimi has given. I know television station that you are put in trouble. And as someone was asking on my, they said, what happened to your dreadlock? I said, you will explain that one later.
The revolution will not be televised. It doesn't happen. But here is what I can tell you. Nigerians are speaking to themselves across channels. When the time comes, we would all present a joint demand and we'll put it on the table for all Nigerians to understand clearly. No violence. Who are we going to be fighting? If we start anything, it will be ourselves. Nobody will even leave their house by the time, even you, by the time you understand the issues. We're talking about our generations. Are we all going to become refugees?
Exactly what I needed to emphasize that, Mr. Farotimi, that your call for revolution is non-violent and that we're preaching peace here.
No. Violence again. I don't own a catapult. And you see, when people talk about revolution, I think it's necessary that I clear this up. There has always been, and it's the military, the Buhari, Babangida, Obasanjo class, they gave the word revolution a bad name. What is revolution? It comes from the Greek word, revolve. What does it mean? It means to turn around. Turn around. We are already heading towards the cliff. A revolution means turn around. Anything that takes us away from that cliff edge is a revolution. And what is the revolution we are proposing? A complete change to our governance system. We have presented a constitution, a draft constitution to the review committees that they set up. We know they dustbin it immediately, but it was never meant for them. It's meant for the Nigerian people. We will take it to the Nigerian people over the coming days, weeks, and months. And when people have sufficiently understood what we're asking of them, we put it to the test.
Okay.
There will be a national strike called. It's not but I don't own a catapult. I'm not looking for anybody to step onto any street. NLC has lost the capacity to cause strikes. And what is the population of civil servants? We will call a national strike. People will stay in their homes.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can go ahead now. Thank you very much. That is Dele Farotimi's brand of revolution. It's non-violent, but it's the kind of revolution that will mobilize the populace of Nigeria to take action, to take their destiny in their hands. Now, I would like to continue the reading, if you don't mind, so that we can then meet Dele Farotimi. You'll give us a taste of the book by reading through the book. So I stopped on Marietu Omake. I hope I got that right. Let's talk, my people. Let's hold national conversations organized by we, the people, Nigeria, to discuss our future. We cannot win with guns and machetes. Dr. Prince, Dele Farotimi was LASUSU president, LASUSU president, when that Lagos State University Student Union, when Taiwo Akinlami was the welfare officer, while I was a clerk of SPC LASUSU. During Dele's tenure as the president, it was the most peaceful student union tenure LASU will ever experience. The only time that the student parliamentarians were paid sitting allowance. I am not astonished of Dele's success and non-violent struggle. Bro, Dr. Aderoyi Obilano from South Africa. Shegun Ogunade, thanks for the great work and your contribution towards state progressives. I'm quite convinced that the Nigerian state has been hijacked by the state actors without almost any recourse. Please, how do we fight peacefully to regain and reclaim our citizenship in this obnoxious situation? That's the first question for Dele. How do we fight peacefully to regain and reclaim our citizenship in this obnoxious situation? First question. Josine, before I die, I will make sure I share your books and YouTube videos to my generation. Sadly, millions of Nigerians aren't here to witness our own Black Jesus life. God bless you and your household, DF. I'm sure we're also broadcasting, that's in response to Josine. We're also on YouTube. So quite a lot of people will be watching us there. And somebody had asked a question whether this will be available on video. Please be assured that on www.delefarotimi.com, this video, the recording of this will be available there. It will also be on his video channel. All you need to do is just search for Dele Farotimi, and the video of what he has said will be present there. Maria Chuomake again, they would definitely benefit if we war. You know they like blood, evil lots. They will do anything and everything to cover up their atrocities. Ibrahim Afolabi, are they plan to produce the audio version of these books? There have been plans, even of Do Not Die in Their War. There was a plan to even translate them to the 3 main languages at the first instance, so that a lot more people can read them. I remember that Dele even started working with a set of drummers to translate some of the text into poetry that can be recited. You know, the way we have the Ewi chanters, so that people can really feel the revolution in voice. Since we say people don't necessarily read, you can meet him in that instance. Malim Sisi Cosby, thanks to all the speaker and the author himself. The book took me through a laconic historical excursion and majorly our ups and downs, the up and down of our politics. I'll read more eventually, but let me just quickly take the 2. I'm a beneficiary of the free download. Once again, God strengthen your back. Dele Farutimi. I just downloaded mine. Thank you, Mr. Dele. Is there a link for voluntary donation since I got it for free? I've replied to that person on the chat room. Yes, since you downloaded for free, but I can assure you that if you contribute anything, it will be used to further the cost of the book. But we'll reach you in the back end. Thank you. May we hear from, take a sample of the book, Imperatives on Nigerian Revolution, from Dele Farutimi. Dele, you can go ahead at your point. DF Lega, unmute Dele, please. Tech host.
Okay. I think I've been unmuted now.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I'll be reading from chapter 11, The Pacifist Warrior. I would begin from page 214, where there is a little blob, and I'll read from there. The Nigerian state is the only legal killer in this space, and given his manifest and well-established reputation as a serial killer, it is only the foolish or the deranged that would engage with such an entity at its own game. I am neither deranged nor foolish, but I seek a change in Nigeria. The Nigerian state is killing the Nigerian nation, and if their moral state and its evil governance systems are not killed, it is all but certain that the Nigerian nation will die. If I would be bothered, I am confident that I can pick out the exact date of my entry into Fidelity Grammar School. It was the second Sunday of September, 1978. It was most likely the 10th day of the month. I had just turned 10 years old in April of that year. I was a runt, tiny little thing. We were assigned houses, and in the houses we were assigned rooms. The bell was scratched at 5 a.m. and barely tolled at 5:30 a.m. I will save the beatings that cleared the flog of sleep. Today is not the day to recount the tales of the incubuses that passed by the names of seniors or my own transition into one. I intend to offer you a window into how I grew up to embrace my pacifist ideology. Morning devotions and prayers done. Basic orientation talks dispensed with. We were assigned our morning duties. Then it was bedtime, and I truly found my level. I entered the bathroom. Every other person appeared to be entering. A long room rigged with showers. It wasn't the compartmentalized space I had imagined, and there were men inside. Some of them with more pubic hair than the entire afro on my young age, and seemingly sporting snakes where I had a tadpole. I ran outside in fear. I believed that I somehow managed to stray into the staff bathroom. The seniors were amused beyond words, slapped me back inside to have my bath. I also embraced my future and began to evolve in order to survive. I was brought up to be respectful of myself, differentiate with other persons, and measured in making my position clear to anyone with whom I would treat. These trainings came in handy in the land of the bullies, into which I had been immersed when I was sent to the boarding school at the tender age of 10. The seniors' only restraint was that they must not kill their juniors, but that did not stop them from trying. A few of the seniors might have tried to find out just how much abuse the junior could endure. I learned to avoid interactions with the seniors. Someday, I will tell you of my bed in the attic to avoid Senior Shola Adedun. But my own classmates were no less intimidating. I was the runt of the litter and being constantly bullied themselves. They would mostly respond by bullying others. Oh, yes, you guys right. Oladele was the favorite person to bully. I've always been blessed with a quick wit and a sharp tongue. And whilst I was brought up to be respectful, I was never taught to fear anyone. My tongue got me regular beatings amongst my own classmates, and I quickly became adept at avoiding fights, even if I learned to cut trouble. It is best to learn how to state the facts of the dispute than to learn how to fight. This is one of the foundational pillars of Yoruba civilization. And culture, resort to physical violence is culturally deprecated, while civility of peaceable disputation is generally encouraged. To be fighting when you could reason with the other person is an anathema to the culture in which I grew up. But whilst I could afford to forget these admonitions at Inolinde, with Mami constantly watching to ensure that none of the older kids would practice their acquired fighting skills on me, there was nobody to protect me at Uditi. And I soon learned to embrace extreme pacifism. It was the difference between being constantly beaten or learning to hold my tongue, an affliction that has never found space in my spirit. I don't know how to shut up. I would disagree with anyone regardless of their office or seniority, but I would do so methodically. I learned to be extremely respectful in my choice of words, depending on the person's age, stature, or status. Stature, the one who at all and old enough to beat me. I will go to great lengths to ensure that every person listening to us is clear about my disavowal of violence as a tool for resolution of the dispute. And I will labor to establish my readiness to be swayed by superior reasoning. The unwary will commit to these terms, and I began to escape the perennial beatings that were my lot in the first month of my secondary school. My 16-year-old son is taller than me today, and he has been taller than me since he was 14. I am only 1.73 meters, but at graduation from secondary school, I was still shorter than the boys in Form 1. The fact that the ironclad discipline bettered the bullies of my youth, of my junior years, had waned by the time I go into my senior year, and the number of boarding house students had reduced in tandem with the Unity Party of Nigeria Free Education Program, meant that I had to be reasonable with the men that became my own juniors. These students that might beat the runt on his truant forays into town. When I was in Oscars in 1984-85, I found myself in an argument with a Richard named Niyi Obembe. I cannot now recall what the subject was, but I was my usual respectful self. It is my factory setting. I have never known any other way. We were not friends, and I'm not even sure I knew him before the day. He was brash, loud, and as uncouth as he was ignorant. I was intent on making him realize the idiocy of his position, and I succeeded. He lashed out with a head kick. It was the first time anyone had physically bullied me outside of my own home in over 5 years for doing nothing aside telling him the truth. Others were present, but only one person rebuked him. Lesson learned again. That was Alaji Kotun, Ladipo Kotun, by the way. He was the one who rebuked him on the day. I have always hated seeing birds in cages. I've always found the sight of the avian in a cage a constant source of great discomfort. This predilection was a catalyst for the last fisticuff in which I was a participant, albeit a reluctant one. I was living in Adanla Hostel at the Lagos State University. That's where me and Baba Ogunlano Shebuba, that was where we met. Pardon the extension of the word hostel to describe the last two hostels. Adanla Hostel was in Adanla Close. Or is it Adanla? Adanla Close. It was a bungalow in the classic face me, I slapped you style. At the rear was an enclosed courtyard with the customary communal kitchen and the toilets and bathrooms. The bed cage was hung in front of the open kitchen, just by the entrance. The cage housed a captured bird. I cannot now recall his breed, but I can now. It was an Odere Kuku, or name of his owner. A mild-mannered man, very respectful of me. He was a good neighbor too. He never caused me any offense. I was to blame for the beating I received in his hand. I freed his bed. I opened the cage and set the captive bird free. The owner asked, and I faced up. I explained my hands as seeing the bird imprisoned. I preached to him a sermon on how God did not create the bird for his amusement and the decoration of his cage. The usually mild-mannered man was enraged, and we did not fight as much as he trashed me. My hands were addled by the knowledge of the fact that I was wrong. After all, it was his bed, and that he was clearly provoked. But I learned another lesson that day. Let's bring the sermon home. My resolve. It has become necessary and crucial that I define my position in the public arena and therefore make clear, in pursuit of the systemic change to which I have committed my life, I do not seek the use of violence. I disavow it unequivocally, and I will never consider it. The Nigerian state is a criminal empire. It is happiest when dissenters embrace the use of violence. And as it has narrowed avenues for the ventilation of grievances, it has deliberately forced violence on those who have sought to engage with it. The state will then turn around to label the ones that they had led to violence as terrorists, and thereby kill, jail, and criminalize genuine agitations. I have no truck with violence. The Nigerian state is the only legal killer in this space. And given his manifest and well-established reputation as a serial killer, it is only the foolish or the deranged that will engage with such an entity at his own game. I seek a new beginning for Nigeria. I seek a nation built on citizenship, one in which everyone is treated the same before the law. I seek a Nigerian nation. I seek a nation where your religion is your business, where there is no use for the state of your origination or tribe, where the Yoruba man is unknown to the constitution of the federation, and where a man's humanity is the common denominator of his rights. I seek a nation that is the lighthouse of humanity, a refuge for the brown race. I see a nation, the equal and better of any other nation on God's earth. I see the assurance of a most vile and violent future if we should persist in working with the current systems. I see the consolidation of forces of feudalism and further enslavement of Nigerians in the immediate future. I see the day after COVID-19 with this lot in charge. And I see men and women in fetters. I see Asian overlords, Chinese, and their local collaborators. I see the slave trade that is coming. I see the decimation of the middle class. And I see the turbaning ceremonies of the local pashas, these guys that are swearing in ceremonies for your governors, House of Assembly, and what have you. I see a feudalized democracy where the citizens are truly serfs and the rulers live in style. They are flying private jets and we're stuck in traffic for 4 or 5 hours, and then they will come with their sirens and push you out of way when you are even paying tolls for the road they are traveling. Necessity demands that the revolution sought must be non-violent, and the rulers of Nigeria are the only one that might decide the peacefulness or violence of the revolution. we owe no harms and shall seek none. Now or in the future, we have evolved a raft of non-violent actions that are designed to help the citizens educate themselves as to the truth and issues at stake, and then build consensus, common purpose for a people that had been deliberately and systematically divvied up for long. The Nigerian revolution is not inevitable. It is also very important that we understand it is unlikely to be peaceful. The beneficiaries of the current system, the victims of the system, and those of us that have sought to end the system are doomed to a cycle of violence determined by the reflexive evil of the Nigerian state and its total inability to identify what is in its own altruistic best interest. Because there is nothing altruistic about Nigeria, but the higher duty of care belongs to the patriots who will build a better Nigeria state. We thus have to articulate a non-violent path to the future that we have sought. Thank you very much for taking time to listen to me. It's been a long read. I actually tried to pick what I believe to be one of the shortest of the chapters, but it is important that I round up by saying this. And that is the part where we must understand that the choice of unity and peace in engaging with this system is one that should be informed by the evidence of our God-given brain. They are the monopolists in violence. Don't be tempted to join them on that plane. We must unite and then demand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dele Farotimi. Even as we were reading, I was sweating. You can see my white, so that in case they come after me. We appreciate what you have been doing, and we know the challenge you go through, and we know the also the kind of sacrifice that you are making. That's why we appreciate what Mrs. Farotimi said at the launching of Do Not Die in the War, when she said she was indeed lucky to have you writing all this book and ventilating, because she could not imagine what would be happening were you to bottle up all of this and then come home with that. Nigeria's situation can frustrate anyone, and if you are as committed as Dele is, you have to be very careful that you don't you don't have diverted anger. So there have been quite a lot of comments. I'm trying to curate them, but I think Dele, you'll be taking some quick questions, and then if I can read all the comments which I've extracted, then we'll get to them. The first question I can see here, I'm sure that fight peacefully. I think you can just take note and then you respond to all of them together, so we don't do two-fold. Please, how do we fight peacefully to regain and reclaim our citizenship in this obnoxious situation? Well, if the person who has the question, Shegun Ogunade, if you say, maybe you want to raise the question. If it's not possible, you just read it the way I've done it. But if you want to read it live, we can have you. Shegun Ogunade, please. Shegun Ogunade, please. Hello? Okay, if that is going to waste time, maybe you just get Dele to respond to it there. Is Ibrahim Afolabi around? Ibrahim Afolabi, please. Okay. Well, the question from Ibrahim Afolabi, are there plans to produce the audio version of these books? In this way,
hello.
it's not. Who is this? Okay, Ibrahim Afolabi. Yes, please. Take your question here.
Yeah, so good afternoon from here, from Finland. I've been a great fan of Mr. Dele Farotimi. Thank you very much for the wonderful job you're doing. So the question is, the first one is, what are the plans in place to produce the book? I mean, both books in the audio version, like the audio reads and what have you. And the second one is, I mean, from all of the speeches you've been given, presenting in different TV stations and what have you, it's kind of imperative that we need to really bond together to demand our right to citizenship from the Nigerian state. But the practicalities, I mean, the methodical steps to achieving this seem to be kind of eluding us. I mean, it would be really nice if you could give us steps to achieving this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Afolabi. Mr. Sheson Ogwande, that was my error. Sheson Ogwande, not Shegun Ogwande, please. Sheson Ogwande, please. Hello? Okay, we don't seem to have him. Let me read Iyo Yusuf. Iyo Yusuf, are you there? Iyo Yusuf, please. His question is, can't the Nigerian buy the ideology from the South African counterpart, EFF political party, by buying the idea of the national party that will champion the ideology of the people's interest? That question is from Iyo.
Yes,
is that Iyo?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, go ahead. Good afternoon.
But I thought maybe either the country could just buy the idea of like the EFF in South Africa, just like I see when like I think was not El Rufai telling Namade Kanu then, the leader of IPOB, that if you think it's popular, why can't you go for a political party? So as I believe, if we have a political party that seems that is that have the ideology of a certain people and in their mind, maybe we can start championing that from the grassroots. I think from there, one will have there in councilorships, House of Assembly, the rep and the Senate. At least we can be able to move ahead, to forge ahead than this same political, the ruling and the opposition party that we keep voting for. It's just my own submission, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much, Iyo Yusuf. Dele will get back to you. Yeah, that's the second question. A third one from Aqua Asibi. He said there'll be a first question, but I didn't see that. I only saw secondly. There's very low engagement by women as regards political education and participation. How do we encourage better participation? That's from Aqua Asibi. Aqua, if you're there and you can verbalize your question, please, you can do that. Aqua, please. I'm quickly looking for you so I can spotlight.
Can you hear me?
Aqua, please. Okay, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please. Go on.
Okay. The first question I asked was, how has Sardele been able to keep resolute to the path, irrespective of the challenges, the threats, and even the risks involved in being an activist? Then the second question was, how can we encourage females and women to engage in political education and participation, because there's a very low engagement level amongst females and women in Nigeria? That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Aqua Asibi, sorry. Leo Harry said, I have just invited Dele to speak in our event and on radio program series that is about to be launched. I am the president of the Marcus Garvey Institute. That's Leo Harry. Leo, if you are in-house, Leo Harry, please. Leo Harry, please. Hello, Leo Harry.
Hi, Jaman. This is Sheson Ogwande.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Dele. I think I'm one of your ardent fans, and I love what you've been doing so far. But if you really look at the Nigerian political landscape and the governance system, it's so evident that the, in quotes, elite, political elite, they've hijacked the system. And it's very difficult because the case in point is what happened during the NSAS and why they use, airing their views and trying to show their grievances about the system. So it's, to me, it's actually very difficult, if you want to regain your freedom through a peaceful means, of every collective and ethnic group, trying to come together on the round table because of insincerity of a leader. So what would you propose as a way forward or a means of us, achieving this peacefully without any revolution? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. You mean violent revolution, not just revolution.
Peaceful revolution.
Peaceful revolution. Okay.
Yes, dialogue. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. I'm here. This is Leo Harry.
Okay, Leo Harry, please go ahead, please.
Okay. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Mr. Daly. I'm very pleased to be a part of this Zoom session, which is in effect for the official launch of your book. Thank you so much. And as indicated in the message that I sent to you, I am the president of the Marcus Garvey Institute of Nigeria. And this, what I'm going to say, well, first of all, one, I will have a question. And the other one is an invitation that I am extending to Mr. Daly because of this opportunity of meeting him. Please, Mr. Daly, I want to please say that I would like to have you invited to speak in our events. The Marcus Garvey Institute has just been set up in Nigeria. It's actually headquartered in Chicago in the United States of America. So in the next 2 weeks, there is going to be an inaugural event. And I want to have you be our inaugural guest speaker for that particular event that will be coming up. So if you would allow me or provide me with particulars as regards how I can get connected to you, whether through your email or a phone number, I'll be very, very delighted to communicate the message officially to you. That's number one. Then the second one is this. Having been a bit involved in, I call it, I think it's a kind of a movement. It's called Garveyism. One of the arguments I've been having with people, political commentators, and then other authors is that they seem to be saying that whatever was, whatever was a philosophical movement that was aimed at bringing about liberation, whether in Africa or any other countries that we say about 50 years old or 100 years old, do not find relevance again in the modern day society because of the redefinition of society with the inversion of the internet, the way the superstructure and the substructures of a society have been reconfigured. So to that extent, all theories do not work anymore. And somebody says, like, for example, Gandhi, they say, hey, that was then back in those days, that was 50 years ago. It doesn't work in the modern day society where we have human tendencies of change. So the question I'm putting across to you now is it actually true that, such movement, like such school of thought, like Garveyism, Pan-Africanism are totally obsolete and they cannot in any way work again in the modern day society? Is it true? Do you support that? And if it is not true, supposing it is actually obsolete, is there certain thing, is there anything that could be done to make it become relevant in the modern day society? That's a question I have for Mr. Daly.
Thank you so much, Leo Harry. I'd like to make a special appeal. We planned that this event will finish at 2 hours, nothing more, nothing less. It's 12:50 now. There are so many hands up and there are questions. The appeal I'll make first is to Daly. Please, this is an opportunity for people to engage with you. And we are a veteran of public engagement. So I will say, please, The tech host is harassing me. They should please hold their mic. Honorable, please hold your mic. Dele needs to be engaged. That's why he's reading the book. People will take months or weeks to read the book. So 2 hours is not, because I can see Olusegun Akinpelu hand is up. Shegun Oyekale is up. Taiwo Alimi is up. LSSC is up. Prince Simeon is up. Ray is up. Please, let's entertain this question. I beg of you. Yes. We need to be engaged. Thank you. Having paid that tithe, so I can go ahead. So Ray, Mr. Ray, please, your question. And then Tunde Olanrewaju. Ray, please. Hello, Ray. Hello, Ray. Okay, it's not there. Do the next question. Jaye Mumuni. Jaye Mumuni says, "Is this how do we get the people?"
Hello.
Yeah. Who is that?
Hello. This is
Hello.
Ray. This is Ray.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ray.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm connected now.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say it's a big honor to be connected to Sadele and all protocols duly observed, so I don't take your time with the pleasantries.
Okay. Right.
Yes, so my suggestions and questions basically run along this line. First of all is the fact that what massive efforts, I don't have asked this on, I've asked Sadele this on Twitter severally, like what massive efforts are being on ground counter the effect that the aggressive, like Sadele said, the noise of those who are most oppressed would be the loudest. And these are people who are reacting. The agitators, basically, their position is perfectly understood. These are people reacting to the injustices meted on them by the state.
Okay,
and
so what's the question?
Right. So the question right now is, how is this psychological warfare, because that's essentially what it is, how is this psychological warfare engaging to counter the alternative messages on the platforms, on the exact platforms where those ones who have that channel, like on Facebook, on YouTube, for instance, because you have the Awikunkos, you have the other people who are doing this, who are known.
Please, can you clip the question? Just ask the question so that we can move on.
So how are those people? What measures are being put in place to provide such alternative messages?
Okay. What measures are being,
like the audio in Yoruba and all of that?
All of that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Dele will answer, but as I mentioned earlier on, there are plans to even put them into poetry. Like, you have recorded, like most of the readings will be put on poetry, and also planned for this material to be on online radio. So I can answer that for him.
Okay.
The power that be have found a way to use our differences against us. Simply put, divide. Okay, if you are there, Yaniwura, please, can you ask your question? The question is a bit long. You can verbalize it. Yaniwura, please. Hello, Yaniwura. Hello, Yaniwura.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to unmute.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. So
good afternoon.
To try and simplify my question, it's just that we have a very complex environment where the powers that be, as I said, have created a system where they divide and rule, right? And they also have, at the lack of a better word, they also have their minions who also help them to divide and rule. Now we talk about having a referendum and possibly changing the constitution, but how do we ensure that these things actually happen if the people that are actually supposed to help us make it happen are not willing participants?
Okay.
So how do we get them on our side? And then part two of that question is those people who are not let me say, educated, right? So I know you've mentioned the fact that of having poetry in different languages, which will be helpful, but how do we get these people to actually align with us? Because clearly the NLC are not, have been compromised.
Okay,
So
thank you very
how
much.
do we get the numbers?
Oh, okay, thanks. Dele will answer all these questions. There are tons of comments that are in the chat room, so eventually we'll be able to curate them. So Dele, you can go ahead with all the questions.
Okay. Thanks everyone who have asked. I'll try my best to address each of the issues that have been raised. But I noticed that one that seems to pop up with almost everybody is the question, how do we fight our way out of this? Everybody wants to be told, okay, so what's the way forward? One way or the other, that question has come back separately. What I will say to all of us is this. If we use our God-given intellect, there is no problem or challenge that we cannot reason through. The Nigerian conundrum is just another challenge to be reasoned. The moment you allow yourself to be divested of emotions, once you divest yourself of received hatreds, you look beyond the mantras that have been sung to you all your life, how you've been told, Hausa is this, Yoruba is that, Igbo is this. When you begin to deal with human beings, fellow Nigerians, as human beings, and you deal with each individual in his own right, you find very quickly that because you've humanized the problem, it then becomes easier to find a way around the problem. The first thing is that we have fought the wrong battles for too long. On June 12, a protest was called, and I had reason to speak with a lot of comrades, friends, people I would consider my natural allies, who are involved in calling the protest. And I had a word with them, and I was explaining to them, and a young gentleman came to me online. He was asking if I would be at the protest. I told him I wasn't going. And he asked why. I said I would explain later. Maybe it's time to explain it so that I then answer the question that I have been asked. As far as I'm concerned, when you call a protest in Nigeria, there is a radical disconnect that you would have failed to bridge, and which would have the disastrous effect of making sure that protests are non-effectual. They are useless in the Nigerian space. And what is this disconnect? On June 12th, while some people were busy being beaten by the police, I could see my neighbors playing football. And I was on my own balcony, like several other Nigerians, because they did not connect with the protest that was being called. And why should they? When we call protests in this space called Nigeria, where people have witnessed the callous murders of individuals by the state, and then the denial of their humanity by their fellows who helped the state to propagate the lie that they did not die. That disconnect happens. So why do I keep saying that we should demand for change if I'm saying that the only tool that we have routinely used for decades, which is protest? Remember, I went to Abadina Primary School. That school is inside the University of Ibadan. I was there for the Ali Must Go protest. I inhaled the tear gas. It changed nothing. Obasanjo still went ahead and did exactly what he wanted to do, which was to destroy the educational system. It stopped nothing. By the time of the SAP riots in 1986-87, I was already in the university. I wasn't a passive participant. I participated, but it changed nothing. And that is the weapon we have used over the years. We've always protested. There were a series of protests in 1993, 94. in level 95. It changed nothing. People were killed in their hearts. The Nigerian state is happy for us to protest. He has a template to deal with it. Send, kill, and go. He's in Nigeria. We turned our policemen. You know what we used to call them when I was growing up? You call them SARS now. We call them kill and go. Kill and go. That is the wantonness of their brutality. They kill and they go because there is no responsibility. Nothing ties them to the person they have killed. No accountability. Now, in the face of all of this, are we to fold our hands and speak Dogon Trenchi like I'm speaking Dogon Trenchi? Hell no, I'm not counseling that. But what I'm saying is that we must begin to think beyond reactions. The difference between a reaction and a response is that the reaction is reflexive. It might have been planned, in which case it was a planned response, even though it might seem reactionary. But the response is always considered. You take your time, you think it through, and you decide this is what we are going to do when they do this. Nigerians need to move beyond the reactions of protest. We now need to move to the next stage. And what's the next stage? One of the sisters who was talking mentioned the fact that the NLC has become complicit in the mess and cannot be counted on to be part of the battle for change. Yes, you're right. But I recently had occasion to address this issue. And why I'm saying so is because the next stage cannot be a protest. We have to take the time. And I've had occasion to start talking to people, like-minded men and women. And I've suggested to them that we should start mobilization for a national strike on the 1st of October. A national strike because that is the only language the deaf man in Aso Rock, that's the language you hear. And that's the language our rulers, the ones, your state governors, your House of Assembly members, your House of Reps, your senators, the local government chairman, the councillors, the beneficiaries of this system. That is one thing that they will understand. The only relevance of the NLC leadership and the labor leadership is because they stand as guards protecting the state from the anger of the worker. We can bypass them. Let us take the time between now and October 1st is the magic date. They say it's Independence Day. Why can't we win? Why can't we win independence for ourselves? Why can't we win citizenship for ourselves? I cannot unilaterally call. It will be stupid. It will be divisive. But I assure you, I am already speaking to others. We're talking to ourselves. And the intention is, if we can come to an agreement, let's have the raft of demand to place before the people, get our buy-ins. Let everybody understand exactly what it is that we are demanding, and then call a national strike. The NLC does not represent the vulcanizer. They don't represent the market women. They don't represent the tailors. They don't represent the Okada riders. They don't represent the Uber driver. They represent nobody but themselves. It makes it a tough job. It makes it challenging. But what's the alternative? You carry guns? That cannot be an alternative to reasoning. But I believe that we have sufficient time to mobilize ourselves, to educate ourselves, to give sufficient notice to the system as well. And then when we've done that, we'll come out with a raft of, if I presume to say this is what we should be doing, I can't say beyond the idea, but I assure you, we're speaking to ourselves. And in any case, if you say something is supposed to be non-violent, and the state is constantly violent, it simply means that you would have to evolve rafts of options that takes you away from their firing line. Taiwo Akinlami has done a fantastic job of turning what was a book of anger into a book of tactics. There is an entire section written by Taiwo Akinlami that deals with non-violent protests, non-violent tactics, non-violent forms of engagement to achieve our ends. So I'll let Taiwo speak to that if time allows us. But I must also seek to answer some of the other questions. A gentleman spoke of the audio version. That will definitely be available in due course. My major bugbear was to make sure that I put the book in your hands. We're also planning translations, especially for Do Not Die in Their War. I think this was maybe the way it was received made me confident that it was right to do it. The way you guys are receiving the imperative also gives me some confidence that perhaps we should work on translations to make it as available to people as can be. So yes, we're working on that. And then the gentleman spoke about the Malema option. Let me explain something very clearly. There is a world of difference between the challenges of the South African and the challenges of the Nigerian. The South Africans, yes, they are divided just as we are, but their issues are clearer. They've had a long history of struggle, and to a very large extent, the political space is sufficiently democratized in South Africa to allow Malema to do what he is doing. The nature of our own struggle is slightly different. One of the first things we need to understand quickly is that functionally, Nigeria is not a democracy. There is nothing, you can't find any sort of engagement with the current system and expect to win any concessions of it. It's not designed to concede anything. So what Malema is doing is doable. He sat in the assembly. He can joust with the president or with the South African president. They can joust. They can talk to each other. He can challenge him on policies. The Nigerian space, the PDP people had to walk out of the National Assembly, and that's the same family. It's the same family, different branches. They wouldn't even allow them their token protest. So they had to walk out. Within the same party, Smart Adeyemi, I think, was talking. Madam Tinubu was busy telling him how he was behaving like an opposition party member. So you find very quickly that the Nigerian political space is not democratized. Yele has already proven that you can run in this system, but there are several factors ensuring that you are not going to be effective in this system. One, the people themselves. How many Nigerians embraced him? How can they even embrace him within this system that has assured that his powers will be diluted? If it was a parliamentary system, which was what our fathers agreed at the foundation of Nigeria, Yele will be sat in the National Assembly because he will be able to garner sufficient votes from a constituency to have gone to the National Assembly as a parliamentarian. And he would then have been able to have an engagement platform, but the system has already been rigged to ensure that effective voices are never welcomed in the chambers of the National Assembly. I must salute Eyinaya Abaribe, the Abba maid. He is practically one of the very few, if not the only one, that still has a voice in the National Assembly that is not pandering to the status quo and the powers that be. That is because our system was designed like that. The Malema option will be very attractive in a situation where there is a democratized political space. The Nigerian is not a citizen. Nigeria is not a democracy. So this makes the Malema option that much more difficult, if not impossible. I'm trying to read from, okay. Then a lady spoke about better inclusion, female inclusion in the system. You see, I found, and I'm not saying this to patronize, I have known all my life, perhaps because I was raised by women, that women are by far more intelligent than men. A man can only focus on one thing at a time. If he's really a genius, he'll probably manage to focus on a second thing. One will suffer, but he'll manage to do two things. That's the real man. The woman can do as many as 20 things at the same time, and she's doing them equally proficiently, and she's delivering on them. But the Nigerian woman's inability to engage with the political process is not a function of disinterest, it's a function of the environment. We have a phallic-centered society where people believe that might is right and violence is a legitimate tool of political engagement. That makes it that much more difficult for the female to find space in that kind of environment. When you now consider the fact that when a female, Mrs. Oloko, even found space and sought to speak her mind in that space. It was a fellow woman, a member of the oppressive class, who shot her up. But thing is, it's not just a female problem in Nigeria. It's a problem that is common to the sexes because we have been generally excluded by a system that does not want the participation of those who would query it. It does not like diversity. It wants members of its own type to be within that system. So it discourages you in every way and any way that it can. Look at what they call the review. They were holding the review in an elitist environment in a hotel where they could not host more than a number. So it gives you an idea of just how participatory our democracy is. So that explains the bit about the female, but it is also extendable to the male. Then you ask how I've managed to keep it going. Well, put it this way. Some of us were born to do the things we managed to find to do. I was still in the university when I told all of my friends that when I was 50, I was going to stop the practice of law. They would ask me, what would you be doing? I said, I don't know, but I'll probably be writing because I'd always known I had a gift for writing, but I never really explored it. I spent it as a lawyer. How do I keep going? I keep going in the knowledge that God has me. I keep going in the knowledge as well that the truth always prevails. There is nothing anybody can do. The nature of truth is that you can't kill it. You can kill the person carrying it, but you cannot kill the truth itself. So even when you are assailed, when you know that what you carry is not killable, pardon my French, or shall I say, what you carry is immortal because truth is immortal. What it does is that it acts more or less like a narcotic. It's kicking you to keep going. So I have the wind in my sail. And what wind do I have in my sail? It's the wind of truth. I know that I have truth on my side. That tells me that I've got history on my side. That also tells me that I can't lose. So yeah, that keeps me going. And then I want to deal with the question of my brother, the gentleman from the Gavi Institute. Thank you very much for your kind offer. I'll be proud to attend that gathering. And now let me quickly answer you. I believe that Gandhi, Marcus Garvey, the thoughts of Nkrumah, the thoughts of Nelson Mandela, and the different peoples who have contributed to thoughts and philosophy, especially as it concerns the oppressed, their thoughts are as relevant today as they were when they were originally put on record somehow. The reason is simple, especially for the Black man. The Black man is actually a traded article today. And the greatest problem of the Black man is one that has been highlighted by Marcus Garvey long ago, and that is the ignorance of the Black man about who he is and the fact that he's dependent on others to tell him his story. The dependence on others to tell our stories is what has led us to the current cul-de-sac that has assured that Africa has remained a largely extractive environment where nothing that we eat is grown by us. What we wear is not, we don't even make our own clothes. We don't make our cars. We don't make our clothes. We don't make our shoes. We make nothing. We have remained a place where everybody brings their nonsense and dump on us. Africans, we are the only race that has enslaved nobody, colonized none. But everybody, every other race we've come across has enslaved us. Every race we've come across has colonized us. Every race we've come across has exploited us. But you know the interesting part? It has always been by the facilitation of our own type. The first exploiter of the Black man has been the Black man, but this has arisen because there is a crisis of identity. These are part of the things that we seek to do by writing. Let's put the difficult things, the hard facts, the difficult truth, let's put it on record. Let's put it in books. Maybe this generation might not embrace them, but a generation will come that would embrace them. So yes, time might have passed, the world might have become a so-called global village, but it is still a slave plantation for the Black man. And the ideas of Marcus Garvey are as relevant today as they were when he set them out originally. So I don't believe in the nonsense that people will say that it's not a place for ideology. It's more required today in this world that has become completely mercantile, where everything is about naira and kobo, dollars and cents. Ideas are by far more important. So I believe I have taken all the questions asked, but honestly speaking, I believe that more important, we should just watch this space in the coming days and months. There are ongoing consultations. We can't continue talking like this. There must be some solution of some sort, but that solution is not in protest. People who protest is their right to. I do not denigrate it. And as I've said severally, I do not presume to dictate for the oppressed how they should respond to oppression. But I reserve the right to use my God-given brain to inform myself that protests that I have witnessed for the better part of the last 45 years, my first one was Ali Must Go, is achieved nothing in Nigeria. There are several bereaved families, dead people up and down the place in unmarked graves. The Nigerian state is a murderer. We have to find another way of engaging it. And I believe the next way is to engage this place is to first of all unite ourselves, find common purpose, and then be prepared for a long-drawn confrontation with this state. It doesn't have to be violent, and it must not be if we are going to win. If it becomes violent, we lose. The only way we win is by avoiding violence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dele Faroti. The good thing is that there are so many takeaway from you, and people have been extracting them and putting them there. But earlier on, you summoned Taiwo Akinlami to respond to an aspect of the question, and his hand has been up. Actually, I have hands up. I'm feeling very uncomfortable that we not engage these people. But if Taiwo Akinlami is ready, I'd like him to speak to. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. What a meeting! What a conversation we have been having. This conversation is hope that when men and women of same passion can come together and have conversation, it is a sign that we can make progress. We can still reason, we can still think together. Now, let me first speak to the idea of an audio book. Why there's work on to get audio book out, but I think you can listen to the book right now as an audio. All you need to do, there are many apps, right now that when you download the app on your phone and you put the book there, it will read it to you. So even Microsoft 360. Right now, if you put the book in PDF, the book is in PDF. Once you click it, you will see the audio side there. You can begin to listen even before that effort is done. That effort is just that it's going to make it. It can be in the voice of the author and all of that. But this one, I've read many books like that in recent times, using those audio apps, and it's been rewarding. What that means is that you can be driving, you can be doing other things while you are listening to the book, and it's not a lesser way of reading. So while we are waiting for the book to be properly made into audio, we can begin to listen to the audio now, using those apps that I've mentioned. So that's that about that. Then the second thing about is the fact that there seems to be our story seems to be like the story of the tortoise, which Chinua Achebe told in one of his books. Market days happen every 8 days. There will be a market day. So in this particular market day, tortoise went to the market and fell into the pit latrine, and he was there for 8 days. And on the 8th day, another market day, they came and they were trying to remove him, from the pit latrine. As they were trying to remove him, there was a bit of delay, and tortoise began to complain. Please be quick, be quick. Don't you see that this place is smelling? No, you've been there for 8 days. I mean, how come, when salvation is almost delivered, you are complaining that the process should be hurried. The importance of that story is to say that we are in for a long haul. Change is as I said in the book, change is an ever-present possibility for anyone who is ready to take responsibility. But that change is a process. We should beware of the change now syndrome, which was what brought us here. Blindly, we followed the plan of a political class who promised us change, though they denied the tendency and the character thereof. And so because of that change now, we just wanted that solution by fire, by force. Let it just happen now. And since 2015, we are in a worse situation than we were from change. They moved to next level. From next level, they are now saying he traveled and came back and said he started speaking another song. So we need to beware of that. There's no way change can happen except we organize ourselves. Those who are messing up the lives of Nigerians are together, whether they're in APC or PDP or whatever they find themselves, they are together. The Nigerian people must come together. That togetherness, as Mr. David to me has said, will require consultation, bringing across board. Because if we are going to have a change that is Nigerian, that is pan-Nigerian, that is all encompassing, there has to be consultations across board. And that consultation must take place. Now, when you look at October 1, a protest in October 1, if we're able to have that, is a step forward. Now, note, it may not deliver the desired result because change also is a process, but it is a statement to the powers that be that people are thinking, that people are making effort. And when people come together, a lot can be done. And please note, if you look at the cover of this book, you have the flag of Nigeria that was messed up, that was stained with the blood of Nigerians. And that is symbolic. What the NSAS protest was able to deliver to us is to again reveals to us the brutality of the Nigerian state. That even when you call a peaceful protest and you lead a peaceful revolution, the Nigerian state can still respond with bullets, can respond with violence. But the character of the Nigerian state must not provoke us to change who we are. Because as the reference to me has argued, and I strongly believe, we cannot match this violent system with violence. But as we remain true to our own ideology, to our commitment, noting that preaching a non-violence commitment is not out of fear. It's not out of fear. It's not out of, we don't want to say we are violent so that we won't be charged for treasonable felony. No, that is not the reason. It's because we truly believe that violence does not have what it takes to deliver. It has never delivered anywhere. It has never delivered. Now, when you don't pass a change process through the people, you find the kind of thing you find with Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro led it was a violent revolution. They seized power, but though there are other arguments at that level, how did that power change the lives of the people in that environment? So it is important for us to understand we should be careful of the change now syndrome. We are engaging mental weaponry until we get it right at the level of our mind. We cannot get it right at the level of change, and that is the importance of this of the kind of revolution that we are talking about here. Revolution of the mind, metanoia, repentance, which is to change your mind. That is the meaning of repentance. And Christian people talk about repentance a lot, but they hardly bring it to the level of change your mind. To change, that's metanoia. That's the Greek word, metanoia, change your mind. And that is what we need. And that is what we are leading. And on the last note, to give us hope, that we are having this conversation against all odds is a sign that we still have listening people here. Now, the fact again is that at the end of the day, one thing we must note is that Mr. Delefano to me says we are a Moses generation. It may be that, and some of our conversations, when we look at the depth of the rot, when we look at the level of the system, the level of ignorance, how poverty has been weaponized, we begin to, sometimes we feel that where do we start from? But it comforts us. That's the reference to me, comforts us. And say all that we might have to do is to start this conversation for another generation. Even if the change we are looking at does not completely happen in our generation, it will have been said that we started a conversation, we started a movement. The movement, the people who started the movement for change in South Africa, most of them were not alive when the change finally happened to the level it has happened to now. So I want to encourage us. We cannot despair. We cannot look at the multitude of the problem and begin to look for change now solution. We must be interested in a system of change that carries as many people along. Now, please note, if we wait for everybody to understand what we are trying to do, we will never move. So we keep moving. We keep doing the much we can do. But I want to charge you, contribute to this conversation. Books should also begin to spring up. Podcasts should also begin to spring up. What I do with young people today is that I have vowed I will never have a conversation with young people at any platform without talking about the Nigerian state. I have made it a point of duty that in all my conversation with young people, irrespective of who has invited me, I want to talk to them about the state of our nation. Don't tell them to read their book. Don't tell them they can make A1. A1 in which country? I have made it a point of duty. Last year, I made that decision. If I have opportunity to stand before young people, either physically or virtually, I will address the topic they have called me to address, which is their personal safety and self-protection, but I will address the state of the nation. I've also made it a point of duty in my own space. Anytime you invite me to talk about the rights of children, I will talk about the state in which the children live. And I conclude by saying that it cannot be well with the Nigerian children except it is well with the Nigerian state. And these are conversations myself and Mr. Delfa to me has had in the past as to the importance of taking a part of the nation, a part of the cake, and begin to amplify. But you cannot amplify that part of the cake. Maybe it's children's right, maybe it's women's right, maybe it's right of the elderly and all of that, without linking it to the national question. And that is the conversation we need to begin to have. If you are within the finance space, if you are within the academic space, if you are within the educational space, whatever space you find yourself, if you are within the police reform space, whatever space you find yourself, let us galvanize all of this conversation to link it to the national question. And as we link it to the national question, begin to find solution, position paper, begin to talk to people, translation and all of that. Before you know it, there will be a moment, we will gather a level of momentum that can lead to a tangible change. And what change are we talking about? A total overhauling of this present system. So I charge you, friends, ladies and gentlemen, that one of the ways we can support everything that we are doing is to read this book. Number two, to share the book. Number three, to ensure that we begin to make effort in our own different enclaves towards a national change by addressing different areas of our economy. Mr. David to me also is interested in that. What is our plan alternative for education? What is our plan for power? What is our plan for different areas of the economy? We need to do back-breaking jobs depending on our different area of expertise to begin to bring that to bear, because see, no matter how prosperous you are, if it is not well with Nigeria, it is not well with your prosperity. So it is important that we understand that and begin to make giant moves, though little by little, that can transform the state of our nation. Please beware of the change now syndrome. Secession is not going to help us. That's another. Mr. Delfa has spoken about it. And take a look at the change manifesto, which Mr. Delfa asked me to speak to. We have made suggestions, and we know that these suggestions are not cast in stone. These suggestions, like Mr. Ogulano was trying to say, whether it's applicable. What I believe is that principles are universal. Applications of those principles are peculiar. So we look at the peculiarity of our state and know that these principles can work. And note, when you talk about passive resistance, what Marco Garvey preached and all of that, these are immortal positions. As long as the human spirit is alive, as long as the human spirit understands what is suffering, as long as the human spirit will always desire freedom from the shackles of oppression, I can assure you that these thoughts are always applicable. It's just that we have to mend them, we have to reinvent them, we have to apply them to the reality of our present situation. And I tell you, if those principles work without Twitter, if they work without Facebook. They work without Instagram. I tell you, with multilateral level of communication and reaching out to people, it will work. It will work. It will work faster than it worked then. We are in for a long haul. We must be committed and be interested in the salvation of our nation, understanding that change is an ever-present possibility for any human being who's ready to take responsibility, but also change is a process. We must be ready to go through that process. We must not be like the tortoise who has been in for so many years, for so many days, and when he was being pulled out, he began to complain that he wanted to come out quickly because the place is smelling. So I salute the entire team, Mr. German, for the great work, editorial team, the entire team in DF Liga, all of those guys, ensuring that this comes to fruition. I salute you. Most importantly and lastly, I salute Mrs. Farotimi, Mrs. Fumi Farotimi, and the children for the great work, the backing. I'm close to the family. I go to the family, and you cannot. When you go to the family, you will see a united family behind a man who is committed to changing the trajectory of our history. I salute you, Ma. I salute you, children, for the great support, and we shall meet in Philippi. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Taiwo Akinlami. Taiwo Akinlami is the one I call the Revolution Evangelist. And this is his chapter in the book. He single-handedly wrote the Change Manifesto. You need to read it to see that it is possible. So everything he has been saying, he has articulated here. So I'd like to apologize to those who have indicated to raise questions, but we can't go beyond 1:30. Now we're 1:32. Splendor, I'm so sorry, and I can see your beautiful son or daughter. Thank you very much, Splendor. Jai Mumuni, thank you. I'm sorry you can't take your question. Shola Ogun, I'm sorry again. Muyiwa, I can't get the surname. What we'll do is that on www.dailyfarotv.com, on the YouTube channel there, you'll be able to set up a program. And I hope Feishayo is listening because she set up all of this. We are going to ensure that we convince Daily Farotimi to be there so that all these questions can be brought in. We can never stop talking about this. And he has done much of the work for me. That's the Taiwo Akinlami. I wanted to say thank you to Kolade Olanrewaju, who actually did the layout of the book and did the copy editing for the book. I only supervised him by editing the text. Dr. Shola Adeyemi in London is of Goldsmith College in London. He did the overall textual editing for the book. He also did for Do Not Die in the War. Isiaka Saka, who is the printer, you'll be surprised at the kind of work that is coming out of Shomolu. So when we say it is not possible, it is just possible. This is the way the book comes with nylon. And it's packaged like this so that you can say, yes, Isiaka, yes. Unfortunately, he didn't join us because he's working on Do Not Die in the War. The reissue, we're reissuing Do Not Die in the War. For those who did not get it in the bookshop, we're doing the reissue. Thank you very much. And Feishayo, she's been in the back end. She set up this event and she worked. Somebody was commending the cover. This is the work of Feishayo in consultation with Dele Farotimi. She talked about it, got it with Dele, and she got it. Our spiritual, our textual spirit or spiritual textual man, because it's always after what is okay, what is not okay, I'll go. So Udubemi is not able to join us. He's teaching this morning. The team at DF Legal, Taiwo Akinlami have done the job for me. And Daily Farotimi family, Mr. Fumilayo Farotimi, don't worry, we encourage him to write more books so he doesn't bring the anger home. And to Igbayilola, he's a man of peace. He comes in peace. Man of peace. To Igbayilola, Ajibola, and Afolari. I'm saying this especially to them because there was a day I was engaging him on the text, and one of them was playing around, and he was saying, "Look, leave my presence, leave my room, look, it's a father's house, so if you like, go to your father's house in your village." Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow, what
a pleasant experience. And thank you. A lot of comment. I will put the comment on the website so that people can still engage it there. Thank you, and God bless everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Dele, for making it possible for us to talk about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you.